All right, give us another sync. Beautiful. Well done.
No, you gotta hit
Thank you, Vince.
Ah.
Well, way to go. What a guy that Vince is. All right, welcome to the MOST DEFF Podcast. This is MOST DEFF Radio. MOST. All right, so this is MOST DEFF Podcast. This is about the Desert Empire Filmmaker Foundation. We are a nonprofit that is fiscally sponsored by the Arts Connection of San Bernardino, and we benefit filmmakers in the Inland Empire. And how many filmmakers do you know in the Inland Empire right now?
The number is growing. I can tell you that much.
Yes, but
Yeah.
ballpark?
Probably 20?
That's pretty good.
20, yeah.
That's pretty good. And that represents like 4 or 5 different crews, basically, too.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, ever since we started this, the number has grown more. I mean, for me, it's at least at the 40 range right now, too. And you work with more people than me, so you get along with more people than I do.
But I'm also going out to LA.
Yeah, well, that's true. And you also have actual technical skills, unlike me. So
I don't. Dude. I act like I know what I'm doing.
So, okay, listen, when I talk to people who work in film or out of LA, nominally, that don't live in the Inland Empire anyway and do the commute, they give me 2 responses. It's either like, ew, ugh, what are you talking about, Inland Empire? Gross.
What is the IE?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Real quick, the other response is, "What's the IE?" Those are 2 responses I get, but I it's like debated, and nobody really wants to be a part of it unless they're squarely in it. But I think you could say it starts at Pomona, and 50% of Pomona people are going to shut off this podcast for me saying that Pomona's in the IE, and then it extends all the way down through San Bernardino, Riverside, Redlands, Yucaipa, and basically all the way out to the Coachella Valley.
Yeah.
I would say right about until you hit the Salton Sea. And then it extends essentially eastward up to the high desert, almost basically to the Nevada border. And then about as far west as Corona, Yorba Linda, Orange County line. So that's it's a large, spread out, municipal, uncoordinated, undecided upon area. So it is a victim of urban sprawl and a lack of vision of planning, and a victim of collapsed industry and poor. Well, I shouldn't start off as a nonprofit by criticizing the government, but I don't know if traffic is considered to be too great here or in really any part of the state. But yeah, that's not going to be too controversial of a take. So, and that's the thing is, okay, LA is the hub of film. We all know this. That doesn't really need to be said. But what we're trying to do is foster the talent that's out here, because guess what? There's actually great film programs at community colleges, specifically RCC and San Bernardino Valley College, and then La Sierra University has like a screenwriting program, amongst some other stuff too. College of the Desert is starting to get in on it as well. So it's got this kind of base of education going on out here, and they all punch well above their weight class for how much they cost. You know, it's not a 4-year program, but you can learn a lot in a 2-year program where you get hands-on with actual film cameras and get hands-on with the C500 and amongst many other cameras. I think they have a Red now too at Valley College. And lights and learning how to do G&E and grip and stuff like that, and sound. So, I mean, there's a basis for the whole industry out here, for all the technical positions. There's plenty of actors who come out of this area too. I mean, the big one right now you could say is probably Jenna Ortega, because she grew up in Rancho Mirage, Palm Desert area, Coachella Valley, which is part of the area. So, and big shout out to Noemi, who just won Best Actress at the Chicano Hollywood Film Festival. That's a big event that all of us were at, and that we had a huge presence at, huge representation at. So And it was a really, really excellent film festival, I must say. So, what
Props.
else? What else? What do we do? Like, how does that help anybody? Right? What's the purpose? What's the point? Like, why do we need you if there's education and resources and there's all these groups of friends who are getting together and pooling money and time anyway? Well, it's like, well, I think the big vision is that we want to be the umbrella that all these different disparate crews and groups can get underneath. And with the backing of fundraising and perhaps grants or any other kind of interest, we can start to develop maybe like an equipment library, a proper shooting space. But more than that, we also want to assist people in starting to produce above board in terms of permitting and insurance and take the hit on that stuff for people, in a true nonprofit fashion. Just take that hit away. And this is the big vision too, is like, I want to help people, everybody who's involved here, because we have a lot of volunteers, we have a lot of people affiliated who can help you with script and story development and also developing your project with the intent of having it go somewhere. Because I can't tell you how many filmmakers, doesn't matter where they came from, because I've met them from all over the world, where it's like, oh yeah, I finished shooting my project 3 years ago and I'm still waiting on my buddy to finish coloring it. And,
Right.
like a lot of people's films end up living on a hard drive in pieces, which I want to help this is a side note, but if you have a producer, your producer needs to help you through post-production too. They can't just, once you have your martini, once you pop the champagne, then it's like, no, they need to keep working and be like, you got 2 months, and then, so, okay, there's that development, stories, make something that's going to stand out. Don't just, well, you're free to just make a dramatic, psychological, student type film that highlights mental illness or some kind of underserved community or discusses suicide or something like that. But I just have to warn you, having been to lots of film festivals, seen lots of screenings, there's a lot. You can get lost in the sauce with that. Wouldn't you agree, Vince?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So you wanna think of how to mix ideas together, right? That's what I'm good at. I'm a good ideas man for that kind of stuff. Where it's like what you want to have, even if it's a student film, even if you're like, oh, I'm an artist, I have a vision. You need to think about it from the audience's perspective. You need to think about how to entertain people. That's really important. That's one thing I noticed not a lot of people consider. It's like, I have to convey my vision. But it's like, well, how do you make someone care about your vision?
Which is fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You the way I look at it is you can have your piece that you hold near and dear to your heart. And then if you want to still pursue what we're pursuing, you got to make something that'll draw attention. But it's hard to do both at the same time.
Yeah.
Just split it up. Do 2 projects.
Well, and it's like, yeah, I'm not here to dump on your idea or anything like that, but I want you to think a little harder. I want you to take it a step further. I want you to mix it with something. Because, like, I'll give you an example. This happened at Chicano Hollywood. I met this young woman, filmmaker. She had moved out from the Midwest and started going to school in LA and started working on sets and doing the PA thing, as many people do. And I was asking her, well, what are you working on right now? She's like, well, I want to write like a serious psychological drama about ICE and the impact of deportations on families. And I want to have like a scene where it's like the family comes home for dinner and the dad's just not there. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, I can totally feel you where you're coming from. There's impact there. There's all that. It's a very timely, good time to
reality.
make something like that. Yeah. It's on everybody's mind. But, we have our idea, right? Is like, rip it from the headlines and then mix it with something else. Because it's like, you've got a story there and yeah, it's like, you're going to drag everybody through all the sorrow and all this stuff, but how are you going to keep them there? How are you going to keep them to the end of the movie? We're in a world where even social media companies are battling each other to the death for attention. And it's gotten to the point that I just heard this figure from someone I was talking to, that the average person spends like an hour and a half on TikTok. Average TikTok user spends an hour and a half on TikTok in the evening. So that would have been time if this was 1998 that you're watching Friends, Seinfeld, and Frasier. You know, that would have been that block of time. Or it became the time that you watched Marco Polo or whatever the earlier Netflix type stuff was, the binge-worthy stuff. But that's not like, no, it's too hard to get on there and find something. Like, you pull out your phone and it starts tapping into your pleasure center of your brain, and it starts feeding you what you want. You don't even have to think about what you want. It knows what you want better than you do. And do not look at my Explore page. Please don't ever do that. But yeah, so our thing is like, let's take an idea of this deportation thing, but what's a compelling story that can happen within that? That's still a movie, you know? So, like, I always like to mix things together. I want to make Jaws meet Star Wars. If you want to pitch someone, say, I want to make that. And they're like, oh, let's make it. Let's go. Boom. That's going to make money. People are going to want to see that.
I'd love to see a shark with a lightsaber.
Are you kidding?
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, well, what if we mixed this kind of ice situation going on with Silence of the Lambs? What if there's an agent, Border Patrol agent, ICE agent, that is taking advantage of sort of the loose documentation or sort of the opaque nature of this deportation thing that's happening right now, and is like a serial killer. You could have like a Dexter kind of thing.
Right.
Not with the good guy twist, though. You know? And then it's like, okay, we need to have another agent who's conflicted about this whole thing and knows something is going on. And there you go, right? Like, that's where you have that setting, and then you can mix something in it. So anyways, that's only kind of one of the parts of what I want to do. And then we also want to assist people with production. Like I said, like, I want to foster a gear library that we could help people out with. Want to help people produce above board. Want to give them their production spreadsheets and templates and tell them how to use them. Because I'm not going to make your movie for you. And I'm not going to give you all the money for it to get started and to see it through. Maybe a little bit here and there, or maybe there's a competition, or maybe there's a little something that has to do with that. But it's still got to be your thing.
Right.
But we're here to mentor people. It's kind of the part of it. And then see it through post-production. Make sure it doesn't get bogged down. Make sure you don't get distracted. Because for me, you know, I fell victim to this. The post-production stuff is I didn't start putting the gas on my editor because they're not getting paid. So... And even when they are getting paid, sometimes it takes too long, too. So, you know, and then I want to take my expertise that I have at Film Freeway, and having seen lots of different workshops and lectures, and having gone extensively through the film festival world with my short films, about how to best navigate that world. Because there are, I'm not going to say scams, but there are some things that you might not get your money's worth from them. Or there may be a festival that doesn't actually have an active social media, or they don't actively promote you. Mm-hmm. Or it might be limited to one channel, or, you know, maybe it's just not well organized. And how do you know that ahead of time? How do you learn that kind of thing? I want to help out with that. And then if your story is working and if the production looks good, then I want to help. We want to talk about helping you get to the next stage of distribution. So this doesn't just work for first-time filmmakers, because we work with filmmakers who made 3 to 5 shorts, or maybe between their friends they made a feature or something like that. But how to keep navigating that world and use some of the connections we've made, and how we're always putting FaceTime in, we're always at events, we're always at things and meeting people. And the miracle of this whole thing is that it's ask and you shall receive. Is that if you just go for it, and you tell people what your intent is, and that you're trying. And it's not just for you. Like, you're trying to help other people. Because I had this experience at Cinegear earlier this year, where we had to basically cold call every booth, every equipment company, everybody who set something up there. And there was a couple who wouldn't even give us the time of day. But the vast majority, 90%, said, that's a great idea. I love it. Let's work. And that happens to be with people like Red and Lee Filters and Hollyland, and you name it. Other stuff like Black Magic, all the stuff at that level. They didn't ask us who we were. They didn't ask us our social numbers. They didn't ask us for our 501. They said, I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is you just gotta go for it. Ask and you shall receive.
I was gonna say the main thing, definitely, if you're willing to learn, we're willing to teach. You know, at the end of the day, you've got questions, we can help you get the answers.
I don't know about you, but there's something I just enjoy about being on set. Because it's like being at a factory. And I grew up with my family's business in a factory, on the factory floor. And there's something like that with film, and it's always crunch time, but there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of hurry up and wait. But it's definitely like, it's a little addicting to being on set and to watching actors shoot and to watching directors work and to watching everybody, all the trains start to run on time. You know, everything like an engine, all the pistons fire and work in perfect mechanical order.
Yeah.
When it goes well and when you have a good AD. So another thing too is that what we want to do is also expand what's going on out here in this San Bernardino Riverside area. And I'm still trying to get further connected because there's a lot of activity in the high desert too. I know there's some stuff going on in Temecula and Ontario and a little further west from us, but I want to start to meet those people. And if you're out there, hit us up, leave a comment, follow us on social. We're just on Instagram for right now. But really, I want to expand a lot of this to the Coachella Valley. Especially, that's definitely one of the big things that me and Cindy got behind at the beginning of this. Is that if you've ever been to, let's say, the Palm Springs, Indio, Coachella kind of area, and if you're a kid there, there's not really a lot to do. Even to this day, it's a little better now. Like, they've definitely invested quite a lot, but it's that's when you get into trouble. And there's nothing better to do. And it's like, right, there's no reason that we shouldn't have like that film kind of thing happening out here, but not out there. Especially because for my wife, for Cindy, when she was growing up and she got out of high school, her parents like, all right, you got to figure out something you want to do now. And she's like, well, I think what I want to do is like photography and video editing and stuff like that. And they're just like, I don't think that's a real job. Like, and they just didn't know. Like, that's not a knock against them. Is that you want your kid to do something realistic? Like the kids can get some big ideas in their head, and it's your job as a parent to kind of be like, maybe not that one, But they just didn't know that is a world, that is a thing you can get into, that you can just go to school for. So she ended up in the medical world for a long time. And I'll let her tell her story when she comes on later. But had there been something like what we're doing at that time, it would have been that onboarding thing. It would have been that hop on, So Vince, tell the people a little bit about yourself now that I've gone on for 20 minutes about myself.
We don't have enough time for my story. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in San Bernardino. Always enjoyed watching movies with friends and whatnot. Really got behind filming and all that stuff a couple of years ago. Me and my friend Daniel did, and we've just been hitting it hard ever since. Written, we've directed, done everything pretty much at this point. But it's been wild. I'll tell you that much, in a good way. You've been part of the productions that I've been on too, and
big time.
Yeah, you do build this community with your people.
Yeah.
But that's another thing of DEFF is definitely getting the whole community be the community, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of talented people out here. I know that there's a lot of people that, I don't want to say they make excuses not to do it, but they don't know how easy it actually is, if that makes sense, But there's always venues to go through and all that stuff to get what you want to get out there. And all you got to do is ask, you know what I mean? Because you don't know if, you've got a friend or a neighbor or someone, if you got, you're going to school that kind of has the same mentality and are like, well, I want to make a movie. Oh, you want to make a movie? Well, let's get together. Let's figure it out. You know, even if it's just shot on your phone, like phones these days are pretty wild, like they're really good quality, you know? But yeah, it just, that's what I love about this community is, everyone has an idea. Everyone can help each other out, trying to bring that to life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing most people may not realize is yes, there's a lot of technicality and there's a lot of knowledge that you need in certain departments, like certainly camera people have to really know what they're talking about,
Right.
and they're handling expensive equipment. But film is surprisingly like a blue collar kind of enterprise when you're on set. Like obviously think, actors and producers and money people and stuff like that. Like that's kind of only a little part of it. Where it's like on set, it's like grips and gaffs and sound people to some extent, and you name it, like PAs even. It's kind of, it's more labor intensive, you know. And a lot of times you're kind of just being told what to do or where to go, and you know.
But a lot of it too is the only way you're gonna learn. And I speak for myself on this one is by just going out and doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I've put myself in a lot of positions where I'm uncomfortable, but I realize that I have to do that just to get out of my head and learn something new and just educate myself and all that fun stuff. And there's always people that can help you and guide you through the whole process.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I think that's part of the community is like the community will do that. You just have to ask.
Well, I think definitely at the independent level, like we're at too, is that it's less of like a, you don't know where to put that sandbag. You don't know which leg of the C stand to put the sandbag on. Get out of here. There's more of a all hands on deck or all for one for all kind of thing at the independent level. And two, most people have to wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
In a given project too. So, yeah. And then another thing is that tonight, as of shooting this, we're going to a mixer for the Inland Film Festival where a lot of the different filmmakers and I think some of the vendors and sponsors are going to be there too to talk about it, and the festival programmers and all that too. So that's where we're going next. And then we're also actually going to talk to someone in LA later this week that is interested in this Inland Empire kind of idea. Because part of this is that, when LA or Hollywood, I should say, at large, is not afraid of shooting outside of LA. There's the LA tax zone where you need to be, if you're within 30 miles of, I think, Figueroa and I forget which other street, some particular intersection, it costs you that much more in taxes to film there. And if you go outside of that 30-mile bubble, that's when you get a big break for that. And that's, you're getting into some more complicated Hollywood accounting when you start talking about taxes and 10% on the gross and all that kind of stuff, tax rebates and stuff. But right, it's like they're happy to go ahead and uproot and take everybody to shoot in Croatia, in Zagreb, or to Northern Ireland, or to... God, I would love that. That would be super cool.
I would love that.
I mean, hey, no, if we could be the Northern Ireland Filmmaker Foundation, I'd do that too. That'd be great. And New Mexico and you name it, Georgia, obviously, that became a big thing. This is what happens, though, is that it's kind of like a plague of locusts come through. Because in like 2010, every movie was shot in Boston, like The Town and all this other kind of stuff. And there was a stretch of time where every like tough white guy came from Boston in movies, whether it's like The Departed or The Town or something like that. There's other examples. And then they were shooting a lot of TV shows out there too. And then it became like Georgia was really the big destination because there was so many tax incentives to shoot there, and they're trying to bring new industry out. And then like Vancouver as well, and people don't really shoot in Vancouver anymore because it happens. It's like they go somewhere that's fresh, that's incentivizing to come, and then slowly over time they turn the boil up on the water. And it's like, okay, we're going somewhere else. We're going somewhere else. We're going somewhere else. Like I was talking to someone who's involved in filmmaking in El Paso, making that a destination. They're like, yeah, well, we happen to just be not far off from the New Mexico border, and a lot of productions there are just winding down, shutting down, not going to come back.
Right.
So we're trying to just lure people out there. I'm like, right, that's kind of what we're doing, because Hollywood's becoming more and more decentralized. And it's like, well, there's an option out here too. And we've got talent. We've got people with technical know-how. We've got people who work in LA that come back and forth. So, you know what I mean? Like, we have pretty close to industry standard type stuff out here too. So, and look, I'm not here to just sell you on it, but I'm here to take you along the journey of what we've got going on, because there's going to be a lot of projects happening pretty soon that we're going to have a hand in some way or another, or have some kind of impact on, even if it doesn't become a project. And make no mistake, I'm a filmmaker too. Vince is a filmmaker. Cindy's a filmmaker. Like, we're still going to be making our own stuff as well. Now, naturally, that's going to be separate from this, because it needs to be legally distinct. And I'm not doing this just to line my own pockets so I can make movies myself. Because obviously that's illegal. But right, it's like, no, like, my first focus really, and all my bandwidth has gone to trying to help other people out. I can tell you too, at this recent festival, Chicano Hollywood Film Fest, that how many people were just excited at the idea of, like, oh, there's another opportunity. Or even, we had so many people come from Modesto, San Jose, like I said, El Paso, San Diego, other parts of the country. And it's like, a lot of them just kind of didn't know where to get started. And it's like, you know what? I don't care if you're from San Jose. Like, I want you to learn how to do this too.
Yeah.
Because you got to learn, like, you're going to learn it's not as hard as you think, but it does take even more work than you think it does.
And it's also a little bit of, you know, I'm not saying that we know everything about the business, but I think we could easily say that we know enough and we know how to do things the right way. So you don't, you know, deal with certain situations later and stuff like that. Which, to me, if you know, we get people from San Francisco, Modesto, whatever, come down and they want to work with us, you know, I'd like to think that we are going to guide them through the right steps. That way, when they go back, they can continue that and not learn, you know, some of the what would you call those, bad habits, you know? Yeah.
Two, it's like, I don't want to keep people here. Like, if you want to go to LA, go to LA. We'll help you here. You may not get as much help out there. You know?
True.
It's a little more competitive, which I don't think is too controversial to say.
No.
So, yeah. And it's like, hey, if someone from Paramount or Warner Brothers or Netflix or whatever says, like, well, I like your style, kid. Here's a blank check. Come on down to Hollywood. Come on down to the lot. Like, go do that. That's what we're here to help you get to that level. You know what I mean? And you only get there by making stuff.
Yeah.
And if you have someone willing to help take some of those barriers away from you, take some of the sting out of it, boom. Why would you say no? Because it's not in LA? Adjacent, literally. I mean, you got San Gabriel Valley in between, but that's kind of that's its own animal. Guess what? The San Gabriel Valley people are welcome to come out here too.
Some of them.
Yeah, no, not really. Not really.
Everyone is. No. Everyone is. We welcome all. Do you want to put a pin on it? Because I think we're coming up to 30.
Yeah.
Stop.
So Inland Film Fest is the next big event. I believe that's in September, September and October. Our fiscal sponsor, Arts Connection in San Bernardino, are sort of the hosts, or the how would you say, the benefactors of that event right now. So I definitely want people to have an eye on that, because the first one was last year, and that was actually a really big event. It was a really big deal.
It was pretty
huge
big
turnout,
yeah.
And it was a big venue too. And they had a lot going on. They had great workshops. They had great interviews and all that kind of stuff.
Well, last time was 1 day, right?
Day.
And then this time we got 2 days?
I believe so.
Yeah. 2 days. Like, that's how big it's grown in a year and a half or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the next big thing coming up. There are some projects I don't really have the authority to talk about just yet, but just the fact that I can say that should let you know there's some stuff moving right now. So we'll sign off, and thank you for watching. Next episode's coming soon. See you later.
Tail safe.